Okay, so today we're going to talk about creating a strong value proposition and create products and services that customers want. And I think that's really key, actually, because as you'll see, there's two halves to this value proposition model. One half is the customer, and the other half are the products and services that you offer. And as you'll see as we go through this, this is not about creating or shoehorning your customers into your products and services. It's about designing your products and services around their needs, wants, and fears. So I won't linger on this one too much. It's a slide that always sits in my deck. We all know each other, so I won't sort of linger on that too much. But suffice to say that I have used this model in various places that I've either worked or clients that I've worked with, and it's just really simple. It's really simple to get to, the kind of nub of the customer's needs and wants, and then start to create, your product and service sort of shaped around them. So it is something that I've used. It's not, just from a textbook, but I have used it in practical situations. So we're going to hopefully give you 4 things today. So an understanding of what a value proposition is. It can take lots of different names and lots of different forms, but for the purposes of today, we'll call it the value proposition, because that's what this workshop is about. I'll give you some examples of some good value propositions. We're going to go through the value proposition canvas model. It's a structured process. And once you've nailed it, you can then, repeat it for other products and other customer personas that you have. And I'll give you some ideas on how you can use your new value proposition in your business. Normally, I think if we were doing this, face to face, we'd probably kind of do it together, and I'd help you individually create your own value proposition. But for today, it's going to be a little bit trickier. But I'll take you through the process. And once you go through it, you'll start to figure out, okay, these are the questions I need to ask. This is what I need to fill in. And then you'll be able to do it yourself kind of in your own time. But so the description of the value proposition is the statement that answers essentially the why someone should do business with you. It should convince the potential customer why your service or product will be of more value to them than similar offerings from your competition. And that might sound really, really obvious, but actually there's so many businesses that get this wrong, and they create products that are pretty vanilla and are no different to their competition, or they've got a great product, they're just not marketing it in the right way. So a good value proposition will communicate to prospects the problems that you solve, the benefits of your product or service, why you're better than the competition. And this is a really important one, how it makes them feel. And that's, again, what a lot of businesses get wrong. They kind of miss that bit out. We're selling an outcome rather than a load of features and benefits. And if you can focus on how it's going to make them feel in the future, then that's part of, the battle with marketing. So a good value proposition is it's not a catchy slogan. It's different to that. It is used customer facing, but we're not trying to get to a really catchy sort of 3-word slogan. It's not a random list of features, of your product or service. It's not nondescript waffle or unsubstantiated statements. So when we come to, the value proposition, if you make a claim in your value proposition, you need to be able to back it up. So I've given you all the virtues of why they're great. So why don't more businesses create them? People get confused with customer personas or customer avatars. And there is an element of that as part of the Canvas model, but it's more than that. It's actually looking at the other half as well, which is your products and services. They don't think they'll ever use them, and it's normally a stock answer because they don't actually understand what a value proposition is in the first place. So I said I'd give you some examples, and I've grabbed 2 here. So the first one is Trello, and Trello, for those that don't know, is a a management tool. It's can be used as a job management tool. It can also be used as a well, what am I looking for? My mind's gone blank. But anyway, right, carry on going down the rabbit hole. So what we're going to look at is and try and understand what makes this a great value proposition. So the product is Trello. The feature is that it's a visual organization tool. The benefit is that you get to see everything in one place, and it basically replaces multiple filing systems. And the target audience is people who want to be organized. So that there, what they've summarized, which is on their website, or it used to be on their website, they might have changed it now, is in essence what makes a really good value proposition. You know, it calls out the product, it calls out one or more of the features, it articulates those as a benefit, and you can understand who the target audience is. So that's a really strong value proposition. Another one, which is Stripe, which is a mobile payment application, allowing you to take payments through your website or through your mobile. So it's Stripe payments. The feature is it's got suites of tools and APIs. It's aimed at developers, so they will get what that language means. The benefit is that it's a simple and a streamlined payment tool. And of course, you know, the target audience is web developers. So really clear, really easy to understand, and calls out the features, the benefit, and who it's targeted at. But how did they get to that point? Well, they went through either the value proposition canvas or a variation of. So before we dive into that, is everybody kind of on the same page? Has anybody got any questions so far? All good, excellent. So this is the value proposition canvas. It's not my model, so I'm not laying claim to this. This is by an organization called Strategizer, but it's used quite frequently when companies are creating new products, because what they'll want to do is, as I said at the start of the training, is, you know, shape their product around the customer, not try and shoehorn the customer into their, you know, products and services. Obviously, if you have existing products and services, I'm not suggesting that you suddenly, you know, kind of throw them all away, but this will just get you looking at it in the right way. So if you are looking at new opportunities or new markets, it will help you understand the correct way, the correct route of organizing the information. So what we're going to go through is essentially 5, you know, pieces of information. We're going to look at on the customer side, on the right-hand side, their jobs to be done. We're going to want to understand their pains, and we're going to want to understand their gains. And I'll go through how we do that in a second. And then on the left-hand side of the canvas, you want to list out your core product or services. And then we want to understand how they create gain for your ideal client, and how they take away pain and relieve kind of stress and everything else. So that's the model. And it is quite simple when you lay it out in that way. What we want to get to, we want to be able to complete this statement, because at the moment, without the information on the value canvas, it's very hard to complete that with any sort of authority. So what we want to be able to say is our product or service helps, and we want to write the customer target audience in there. So it could be working mums, it could be working dads, it could be busy professionals, it could be, you know, any of those who want to, and then that's where the job's to be done. So they've got something that they want to accomplish by, and then we'd put in a verb there, add in one of the pains. You get the idea, and we're going to go through this in a bit more detail in a second. So I wanted to share, kind of before we get into the, you know, the sort of nuts and bolts of it, an example from Uber, where the canvas is completed. So I'll show you this first, and I don't expect you to kind of just get this straight away, but I thought I'd show this to you first so you can see what one should look like. And ideally, obviously, this would be done face to face. We'd have post-it notes and we'd be kind of moving stuff about and putting stuff up and writing stuff down. And but obviously here, we're in a sort of digital kind of world. So on the right hand side, you've got the gains. So the gain for a customer that uses Uber, you can cancel it with one click, so you don't have to phone up. Trusted driver, it's sometimes questionable with Uber, but you do at least get to see who the driver is before you sort of book them. You can pay straight away. It just takes it off your card and pay. You don't even need your cards because it's done through the app, and you can track your cab. There's some of the gains. There's probably lots more, but there's some of the gains or the wants from the customer. And then the opposite is almost, the pain of the current solution. So we've all been out on a night out, as if we can all remember what that was like. And been waiting in the rain for a cab, so availability is a bit of a pain. Sometimes you need to book them in advance, and you're never sure whether they're going to turn up on time. There's always a risk of getting just a rogue or a bad driver, and you never know how you're going to pay. Do you need cash? Do you not need cash, etc., etc. So this is kind of then mapped out on the other side, which is then looking at how the Uber platform and how the Uber product suite kind of taps into those gain creators. So you can see the trip on the map itself, so you can see where the driver is. It's automatic payment. There's a rating system. So they've thought about the customer. So they will have started with the customer first, and they would have gone, look, here's our customer. This is the current solution. These are all the problems that they've got at the moment. How can we create a platform that solves these problems, that puts the customer in control? They wouldn't have done it the other way around. They wouldn't have just sat down with a blank canvas and gone, I know, let's do this, hoping that that's what the customer wants. So I thought I'd show you that example to start off with before we kind of go through. As I said, normally we'd be doing this face to face, or I'd be doing it face to face with a client, and we'd have a whole stack of post-it notes. We'd have loads of Sharpies, and we'd probably have a whiteboard, and we'd kind of draw out the value proposition canvas on a whiteboard, and we'd be sticking post-it notes and questioning what we're putting up and brainstorming and moving stuff about. But of course, we can't do that. And I just thought I'd reiterate why we always start with the customer first. So we want to build the products and services around them and their needs. And like I said, if you've got existing products and services, doesn't mean you sort of throw those out, but you want to look for opportunities that your products and services offer to solve the pain and to create gain. And what you're looking to do is kind of match them up. So it's not the other way around, and we shouldn't try and get the customer to fit your product or services. It should always be the other way around. You can design your products and services around them. Any questions so far? If you do have questions, if you want to put them in the chat, then I can tackle them at the end. Okay, here we go. So we're going to look at the customer jobs. So this is the first kind of section on this customer segment. And jobs describe things that your customer is trying to get done in their work or in their personal life. A customer job could be the task that they're trying to perform and complete, the problems they're trying to solve, or the needs that they're trying to satisfy. Now, I actually ran through this presentation with my daughter earlier, and she stopped me at that point and said, "Yeah, that's great, but how do I know, customer jobs? I mean, what does that mean?" So actually, I thought, well, I would give you some questions that you can ask yourself of your customers to get some of this stuff down. And what you're looking to do, like I said, is have a post-it note, and you probably want to write no more than 3, 4, 5 words on that post-it note to summarize what a customer job is. So, if we go back to the Uber, the job of a customer is, get a cab on time, reliably, be in control, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So think about your own products and services and your own customers, and what are they trying to achieve that your product or service can help them achieve that. So if you ask some of these questions, What tasks are they trying to perform in their work or personal life? Are there problems that they just might not be aware of? How does your customer want to feel? What's the one thing your customers couldn't live without accomplishing in their personal or in their work life? What are the stepping stones that could help them achieve this? So these are the customer jobs. This is what they're trying to achieve in life. This is what they're trying to get done. And this is how we want to then either create a product or service that marries those two up and solves and helps them achieve some of their jobs. So, in another world, it might be, the target audience could be homeowner. My job is, as a homeowner, is to take care of my home. In the real world, to do that, I might need to get my boiler serviced. So that's a job that I've got to get done. Coming back to the Uber example, like we said, the job to be done is to get me from A to B, pick me up at, when I've gone through the airport terminal. Think about what your customers are trying to achieve, and then think about your products and services and how you can help them achieve those. So in the real world, like I said, we would draft out some jobs to be done that customers have, and we'd put them on our value proposition canvas. But we can't do that. But what I've done in the past is use some of the whiteboard material that you can get. It's kind of like a static thing, and you can put that up on the wall and just draw a circle, or just a good old fashioned pad and just draw the canvas and do it like that. So now we look at the customer pains. What's causing them anguish? What's kind of causing them friction, causing them upset or frustration? So pains describe anything that annoys your customer before, during, or after trying to get a job done, or simply prevents them from getting a job done. Pains also describe risks, that is, potential bad outcomes related to getting a job done badly or not at all. So again, if we go back to the Uber model, the potential bad outcome of not using Uber is you get stood up, the cab doesn't turn up, you're left out in the rain, you're late for a meeting. Being late for that meeting costs you a job interview or costs you a client. These are all the potential bad outcomes, the pain of not using their solution. So these are some of the questions. So how do customers define costly? Because actually cost, it's not just money, but sometimes it's time or effort. So again, you might have a more expensive solution in the marketplace to what they're trying to do, but actually, is it going to save them time and effort further down the line? What are their frustrations, annoyances? What's giving them a headache in their current solution? So, try and put yourself into their world and think about the current solutions that they have available to them. And, what are their frustrations or annoyances? So again, with Uber, I found it frustrating. I think we've all done this, when we traveled abroad and you come out of the terminal and you kind of open, really, you're in the lap of the gods with who you choose, and how do you know it's a bona fide company? At least if you're using the Uber platform or any other platform, come to that matter, at least you're going to get somebody that is rated. You're going to get to your hotel or your apartment or wherever safely. So that's a frustration, or it could be a potential headache. It might be something you're thinking about on the plane. But in your business,
any cash, Steve,
or cash.
You don't need any foreign currency. You just tap it in your phone and that's it. It comes out of your bank account. Brilliant concept.
Yeah. So, it comes in, for a lot of negativity around the world, but actually it does solve a real world problem. And like, Simon said there, it reduces the need to then go to the foreign exchange to go and get some cash. So what keeps them awake at night? Well, that certainly is something that would keep me awake at night if I was thinking about traveling. It's something that would certainly be on my mind that I need to resolve. And what common mistakes do they make in their current choice of solutions? And then essentially what we're trying to do is, again, we'd be writing these down on post-it notes and just putting them on this part of the canvas. And that's all we're doing at the moment. We're just writing down these pains that our customers feel and have at the moment through their current solution or not having a solution. And then we move on to the gains. So what are the positive outcomes? Gains describe the outcomes and benefits your customers want. Some gains are required, expected, or desired by customers, and some would surprise them. Gains include functional utility, social gains. And again, I'm going to use Uber just as an example. There is somewhat social, what's the word I'm looking for, like social credence of being the one that gets the cab. You're all kind of stood outside in the rain. I've got my phone open, I've got the app. Don't worry, guys, I've got this covered. Boom, 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 boom. It'll be here in 5 minutes. Oh, Steve, you're a legend. You're a ledge. We've all had that. We've all experienced that, and that's a really positive emotion to feel. And that gives me a much stronger affinity and connection and love for that particular brand. So it could be anything. It could be, again, we've all been sort of labeled as legends when we've sort of come sorted out the takeaway. And if you think about other platforms, Just Eat, when somebody sorted out the evening's takeaway, legend, and it gets delivered. That's what I would call other positive emotions. You can tell I'm giving away quite a lot about my life here, can't you? So what would make your customers happy? Giving them some time back, giving them more money, better health. Simon Evans. What would make your customers' lives easier right now? What would make them look good or improve their social status or power? That relates to that example about Uber and being the one that gets the cab nailed for everybody and gets them home safely. What do they want the most? Great design? Do they want guarantees? Are they looking for quality? Are they looking for features? These are all the gains of them using your product or service. What do they dream about? What are they aspiring to achieve? And how do they measure success and failure? So they're just some of the questions you can ask. There's lots of these questions, but they're just some of the questions you can ask to start to write down those gains. Yeah.
It's a while too, in my experience, you have to tease out those answers. They don't come, immediately to mind. You have to challenge them and pull them apart and prioritize them. And then it totally changes your perception of why somebody looks to your solution. I think it's quite a cathartic exercise.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a really good point because, obviously I'm whizzing through this, making it sound like, oh, just do this, just ask these questions, it's fine, you'll get all the answers. Actually, if you put this up on a board in your office and just kind of leave it there and have your post-it notes next to you, there'll be random times where you'll think, oh yeah, that's another benefit of my product or service. Oh yeah, I missed that. Or you'll watch a feature on the news and it'll be like, oh yeah, well, our solution kind of solves that.
Yeah, it's not that easy. It's not that easy to do.
It's not. You're absolutely right. It takes time to get this right. As I said, I'm sort of whizzing through it, but actually, this should be an ongoing sort of process. Because the other, thing to sort of bear in mind is, this is shifting all the time. I don't think it's ever been this much of a quantum leap or a big shift in our history. Things are changing by the week, by the month. If you had customer personas and you had this nailed at the start of last year and you knew why customers were buying from you, the chances are it's very different now. And with the different people in the room, I can think of, lots of different examples of where the landscape has shifted. For Sandra and what you're selling, the ability now to save money is probably never more important. And, with the cashback card, people booking, there's going to be a big flood of booking holidays and things like that, and online shopping has changed, and the world has changed. So these are the game creators anyway. This is where we want to get to. So let's take another look at Uber with the information that we've got. So now we're starting to map out, what the customer wants, what their jobs to be done, what they're trying to get done, and what the current pains are. So that's the first half of the value proposition canvas, filled in from the customer's perspective. So your takeaway from this is to think about your ideal customer, and you might have a good picture of who they are. They might be, 30-year-old female, professional, homeowner, mother of two, boom, 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 boom. You'll have this kind of information in your head as to who your ideal customer is. Or if you're a B2B, you might think, well, it's a managing director, 35 years old, female, drives a Mercedes, runs a company with 50 employees in the tech sector, boom, 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 boom. So, that will be your ideal customer, your customer persona. But now this is starting to delve into, well, what are they trying to get done? And how can my product or service help them get that done? What are the current pains? And what are their jobs to be done? What are they trying to achieve? Yeah. So now we start to look on the other half of the canvas. And this is, like I said, this is why we do it this way. Because now we want to start to map out, well, if the customer has these pains, how can our product or service relieve those pains? And what you're looking for are matches. So you will go through this process and start to understand and write down on Post-it notes the pain relief that your product brings, your product or service brings. So I know we've got, Andy from It's Easy in the room, a great platform for web design, and for people maybe that want to look after the website themselves and want to sort of, edit some of the text themselves. They've got this, great platform that allows you to do that. So that could be a potential pain reliever. Another pain reliever is, this isn't an advert for Andy, by the way, but I'm just picking on you.
Keep going, Steve. Keep going.
They do all the, they do all the hosting. They look after it. They make sure it's updated with security. So again, more pain relievers. But unless you're talking about these in your marketing, maybe people are missing them. Maybe, these are really important to people. We're always seeing on the news, different websites and platforms getting hacked. And it makes us feel like we're going to be next. So actually a good pain reliever is, don't worry, we've got you covered. We, ensure the full security of your website. Anyway, these are the pain relievers. So describe how exactly your products and services alleviate specific customer pains. They explicitly outline how you intend to eliminate or reduce some of the things that annoy your customers before, during, or after they're trying to complete a job, or that prevent them from doing so. Yeah. So could your product or service produce savings in terms of time, money, effort, energy expended, etc.? Make them feel better, remove frustrations or annoyances, eliminate risks or fears. Could it help them sleep better at night? I mean, coming back to that example about, website getting hacked or the website going down, or, is it going to help them sleep better at night? Probably. Is it going to limit them making mistakes and then thereby appearing less capable by others? And certainly that's a really important one. If you're selling into B2B, how can you make that either business owner or employee or head of department appear more empowered by removing mistakes that they make, and eliminate any barriers stopping them from buying at the moment. So it could be, get to the airport. This is in the old world, no Uber. You're thinking, I'm not really going to take a cab. So you might go and hire a car to get you safely to and from the airport. I've done that before because I don't want to take a cab. So, I thought, well, I'll hire a car. At least I know it's in my hands then. So they're the pain relievers. We now move on to game creators. I'm just going to see how we're doing for time. Yeah, we're on schedule. So gain creators describe how your products and services create customer gains. They explicitly outline how you intend to produce outcomes and benefits that your customer expects, desires, or would be surprised by, including functional utility, social gains, positive emotions, and cost savings. So, going back to that Uber example, I know I've seen it in their marketing before, but group of friends out on the street corner, all looking happy. They've had a great night out. They got their smartphone in hand. The app's kind of there, and there's a car sort of pulling up in the background. What they're not going to show is standing there for half an hour, getting drenched. It's all about these positive and the social gains and positive emotions. So some of the questions, so could your product or service make their life easier? Create a positive social conscience? So again, just thinking about, the big drive, obviously at the moment, around the environment and the need to be environmentally conscious. So are there aspects of your product and service, does your organization donate to a particular cause? Are you aligned with a particular charity? Because, part of someone's job to be done might be that they want to align themselves with an organization or put their money into an organization that is aligned to a particular charity. Could your product or service fulfill a desire, outperform existing solutions, and delight your customers? Produce outcomes your customers expect, or exceed those outcomes, or make their work or personal life easier? So these are the gain creators. And if we take another look at that final sort of model from Uber, so the gain creators are that you can navigate, your trip on the app, so you can see where you're going. It's automatic payment at the end, so there's no cash. You've got a rating system, ability to manage all your trips on a single platform. And when I was working sort of in the kind of corporate world, you could switch between business and personal. That was really easy to do. So you could store a company card on the app, or you could store your personal card. You can flip between the two. And then looking at some of the pain relievers, as we said, driver ratings, it's a pretty flawless payment system. You can leave a tip, or you don't have to leave a tip, and it moves that conversation away. And again, I'm sure we've all been in a situation where perhaps you don't want to tip the driver, and it kind of moves that conversation away from that. So, Uber have obviously very clearly honed and perfected their model over the years, but they will have started with some sort of process like this. So this is something that I showed you at the start of the workshop, and now we've got the required information to complete this. And I'm going to share with you in a moment some practical ways how you can use your value proposition in the real world. But now we've got our product, which is the passenger mobile app. You would put your product or service in there. Helps, we've identified with them tourists as a customer segment. Could be office workers, it could be people out for leisure who want to control their taxi fare costs. And you see what we're doing here. So we're taking a product and service from the left-hand side of this canvas. We've taken the customer that we're focusing on, so in this case, tourists. One of their jobs to be done is they want to control their taxi fare costs. That's what they're trying to achieve, trying to not get ripped off. So we're starting to build this statement, this value proposition statement now. And then we've got a verb in there, reducing, avoiding, by removing a pain. And one of the pains, going back to that model, was issues with how they pay. And enabling a gain. And one of the gains of the Uber platform is putting them in control. And then you can even go one stage further and compare it to the competition. So you can see how going through this process, you can do these as many of these as you like. This is just a template. You can take different gains and you can sort of play with them until you get something that you're really happy with. So our passenger mobile app helps tourists who want to control their taxi fares by removing issues with payment and enable them to retain control, unlike black cabs. I think black cabs can do some of that stuff now, but they certainly couldn't when Uber were hitting the streets. So does everyone kind of understand what we've done so far and how we can get you to that position? Now, that in itself, what can you do with that? So I thought I would just share with you some of the ways that you can take the work that you've done and kind of use it in the real world. So you can create your own little templates now by using some of the gains and some of the pains and some of the jobs to be done, and mixing and matching on the left-hand side of the canvas. So you could, once you've done your value proposition canvas, you could have a look at your LinkedIn headline and you could say, we help, again, we'll use Uber. It's probably not a great example, but I'll use that anyway. We help tourists who want to arrive safely to their destination by helping, and then the customer paying, and then finish it off with a gain. So I would take this and I would start to look at your value proposition canvas, and I'd want to try and start to weave some of those gains and pain reducers into your LinkedIn headline. So, you know, we help busy professionals who want one of the jobs to be done by removing or by helping or by assisting or by and then put one of the gains in there at the end. So that's just, you know, you could use it for your LinkedIn headline. The other thing you could use is you could start to craft a really strong 60 seconds for your networking, or 45 seconds, depending on what chapter you're in. So it could be, good morning, here at your company name, we help target audience who wants one of their jobs to be done by removing pain and giving them a potential gain, unlike their current solution, which is this. And if you kind of had that at the start of your 60 seconds, that would be a really powerful. So, you know, for Sandra, good morning, here at UW, we help homeowners who want to save money. I mean, this is kind of your 60 seconds anyway, isn't it? Who want to save money by reducing their bills. So customer pain is their bills, and give them more money, unlike E.ON or anybody else, or insert any other utility company in there. So that's kind of how you would start to craft your 60 seconds. You sort of see how you can kind of adapt. Now you've done the work and you've identified those jobs to be done, the pain, the gains. You can then start to kind of weave this into a bit of a narrative, and you can make your own. So if you were on the homepage of your website, your opening statement, you know, that normally says on lots of websites, welcome to blah 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 company limited. Actually, you want to create a really impactful statement on that homepage that says, you know, we help put your target audience who want to you know, improve their lives by giving them more time, and and you just kind of make your own up. So, you know, the tools that you've got now is, once you've gone through this Canvas model, you can then start to create social media content from it. So tell prospects what they, so take each one of your post-it notes, and that's a social media post right there. So if you've got your value proposition canvas and you've got 30 post-it notes, you know, you've got 10 in each kind of category, doing well if you've got 10, by the way. But, you know, you've got potentially 30 social media posts. Delve into each one of the gains and why that's important to prospective customers and how your solution fulfills that. And then look at the needs and the wants, or the needs or the wants, and then start to tap into some on an emotional level. So it just give you such a richer social media presence when you start talking about these things, because that's often one of the hardest things is coming up with social media content ideas. But actually, once you've gone through this, you'll start to understand the needs, the wants, the pains, and the solutions that your product or service can provide them. So before we get on to the sort of Q&A, have I explained it in the right way? Does everyone kind of get that? And I don't know if anybody's got any thoughts, or if you want to just unmute yourselves, if you've got any thoughts at this stage, how you might be able to use it, whether it's of potential use to you.
Well, I've been through it with you, Steve, and I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but I thought the bit about that we did on customer portraits was good. Creating the avatar.
Yeah.
It kind of rounds it out a bit as to things like, what are their interests and what are their goals in life, and all of that adds a bit of flesh to it. And that's sort of where I'm thinking now in social media posting as well.
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, you will have already mapped out some of your customer personas, and you have a good idea on some of this stuff. What this forces you to do is kind of revisit and some of that customer persona stuff, and kind of isolate some of those key persona elements, and actually get them out onto a proper structured canvas. And then when you've got that customer on that side, and then you've got on the other side, trying to do this back to front, and then you've got your products and services there, and you've got the customer there, then you can start to really shape your business and your service around them. And actually you might have, there's another sort of expression, a good product market fit. So the market being the customer, and the product obviously being your product or service. You've heard about a good product market fit. You might already have that fit, but you just might not be telling a great story on social media, or reminding them why you. And this applies whether it's B2B, so whether you're selling to other businesses or whether you're selling to consumers. We all want to know what we're going to get out of it. It's about selling the future, not features. I wrote a post the other day: sell futures, not features. So it's all about reminding them of what they're going to feel like when they've used your service. Sell futures, not features.
Steve, you said earlier about the pace of business at the moment, particularly over the last year. Clearly, you should look at your mission statements and what have you on a regular basis, avatars and so forth. What would you recommend in terms of sort of reviewing, and how often?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. And like I said, the landscape is changing all the time. So almost a quarterly review. Depends on, the sector, depends on the industry. Obviously, some industries have carried on almost regardless. But there'll be lots of industries where, the industry itself might not have changed, but certainly the consumer will have changed. So, it's a really difficult one. I don't think there's any fixed, kind of time on it. It's just, like I said, if you were to have this on your wall or in a notebook, and you were just to kind of keep it front of mind as you think of things, or as you see a news article, you can always add to it, and then, like I said, then that becomes another social media post, or it becomes another element to your business. If you spot that there's a potential pain, a new pain that's out there that wasn't, and we're not talking medical pain here, we're talking about friction or trying to get something done, or and then all of a sudden there's an extra dimension to your product there. Cool. So you know what, there's no upsell to this. I've not got an upsell. Shock horror, I know. a workshop that doesn't have an upsell. What a lousy marketer I am. But there is a way that you can help me. So if you've got value from this, and I'm going to send, I'll send a replay so you can watch it back. And I'll also send you the slides, so you'll have the slide deck. This is not my IP, so I'm not, I'm not protective of it. So if you've got value for a Google review would be awesome, or a LinkedIn recommendation would be very, very welcomed. And if you do, I've got a little Brucey bonus for you. And I know sadly he's not with us anymore, but I do love the expression. So the meat of what I've kind of gone through today, like I said, it's something I've used in various places that I've worked and various clients I've worked for. And it is from, you can't see it because I've got my background on. But basically, there is a book called The Value Proposition Design. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to quickly just...
see it there, Steve. See on the slide.
Oh, well, there we go. Yes, there we go.
Matt, are you young to understand what a Brucey bonus is?
There we go. So if you do, if you have got value, if you haven't got value from it, then don't leave me a review. But if you have, for your time and effort, I'll send you a copy of the Value Proposition Design book, which has a lot more than I've explained, and actually starts to take you on quite a great journey of discovery of how to put all this together. So that's a little Brucey bonus. I think we've kind of covered some questions, but I'm open to any others, or I will let you lovely folk get off on your merry way. But yeah, any thoughts on that?
Just a quick one. I used to be a product manager, so I've done value proposition many times. And as Simon Evans said earlier, so it's quite difficult to get off the ground. You normally spend the first 10-15 minutes all just looking at each other weirdly and scratching your head. So I always found it good to have somebody non-invested in the room, somebody that wasn't part of your project team, somebody who wasn't part of your management team. You said about asking your daughter earlier, but it's so maybe not children, it depends on your product, but having somebody different in the room who can challenge and ask questions that you probably wouldn't have thought of, or you think are just obvious. But it's always good to have somebody else's viewpoint.
A facilitator is really great, to have somebody steering that, and just challenging things. But I think that's, it's good. You've got the questions there, and the book actually delves a lot deeper. I mean, there's probably about 10 to 15 question prompts in the book for each of the pains, the gains, pain creators and gain creators. There's a good 10 to 15 questions that just sort of fire up the grey matter. But you're right, having somebody to bounce ideas off of. I've done this in a room with 20 people when we were scoping out a new sort of product and service at Vanarama. And then you're almost inundated, so it then becomes the reverse problem of you've got no more space, so you've got to then prioritize, and that's where there is a scoring method where you can prioritize some of those gains, because otherwise you just lose focus. But if you're doing it yourself in isolation, then those questions are a good prompt to sort of fire up the thought process. But if anybody on the call or watching on playback, you need a bit of help, or you just need 15-20 minutes, you can always just drop me a note, and I'll always jump on a call. If you just want to validate what you're thinking, or you want to be challenged on something, no cost, just drop me an email, hello@getmoreleadslocally.com, and we can always jump on a quick call. Any other questions before we sort of wrap things up? No? Well, listen, thanks. Hi, James.
Hi. I saw the notice for it about 5 minutes before it started.
Brilliant.
But it's a really, really clearly put, interesting, clearly put, and I'm going to be busy looking at my website tonight, I think.
Brilliant. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I think that's where these sort of things come in at their strongest is when you can then start to look at your individual product pages, your homepage, because ideally what you would do is if you've got very distinct products or very distinct services, you would do one of these for each service and make sure you've got that good product market fit. And equally, if you've got multiple customer personas, you would do one of these for each of your personas, because they're all going to have different needs, wants, jobs to be done, etc. So great stuff. Listen, everyone, I really appreciate you joining me on the workshop. And like I said, if you've got any follow-up questions, reply to the email that I'll send you. I'll get the notes, the slides and the playback out later on this evening or tomorrow morning, and then you can always drop me a note back. But for now, thank you so much for joining, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Steve.
Big shout out to
Great stuff, Steve. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys. It's really hard because I can't actually see everyone that's on, because when you're sort of sharing your screen, you don't actually get to see everybody. But yeah, I really appreciate it, and thanks, Andy, for jumping in and sort of helping me do the manage the kind of people coming in.
No problem.
I really appreciate that.
Cool.
Well, thanks again, guys.
Yeah, guys.
Thank you.
Some of you
Thanks,
I'll
Steve.
see very, very, very soon. I'll see you soon. All right.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.